He called me into the garage like he was asking for help carrying in birdseed. Do you remember the blue Dell? Mike asked, tapping the lid of a laptop we hadn't touched since Bush was president. A tangle of cables lay beside it like shed snakes. We were clearing shelves to get the house ready for the realtor. Our last big project before we became empty nesters, with a kitchen big enough for two people to pretend they still liked cooking together. I found an adapter, he said. It boots. The word boots landed in my stomach like a stone. I knew the machine. The one I bought with my first bonus at the mortgage office in 2000, the one with a trackpad that squeaked and a browser that popped up 1,000 little boxes every time you spelled Yahoo wrong. I also knew what was on it, because secrets that old don't die, they just wait for electricity. He opened the lid. The screen glowed a kind of museum white. There, in a folder labeled Simply Archive, were exported emails with subject lines that looked like little knives. Lunch? Need to feel you. Can't stop thinking about last night. Daniel's name was everywhere, like someone had set off confetti in my inbox in 1999, and it had finally fallen to the floor. I heard myself say, that was a lifetime ago. He clicked one message. It was me at 29, ugly with certainty. I choose you today. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I know I can't breathe without this. I read the sentence and wanted to throw up from the brightness of it. I had written that in our first little house with the avocado oven while Mike was on nights, and the baby monitor sat quiet as a lie. He didn't yell. He scrolled. He clicked another. We'll park behind the loading dock again. I can only stay an hour. Mike's off at 6. The timeline sat there, tidy, undeniable. For years, he asked finally. His voice was not a volcano. It was a calm day on the water when you learn to respect a current. On and off, I said, like a person auditioning for a smaller sin. From 99 to 03. I ended it. Things were hard back then. You were never home. We were broke. I didn't know who I was. You were my wife, he said. He shut the lid gently, like you close the eyes of a body. We went inside. He poured coffee into 2 mugs and set one in front of me out of habit. Then he moved his hand away like he remembered that habit is not love. I'm not going to perform, he said, and there was something in the way he said perform that made all my justifications shrivel. I'm not going to throw things or call your sisters. I'm not going to let the kids hear this through a phone I can't control. I'm not going to be dramatic so you can tell people I'm dramatic. I am going to change my life. What does that mean? I asked even though I knew. It means I'm meeting with a mediator on Tuesday, he said. It means I'll ask for an equitable division, not blood. It means the house goes on the market now, not after Christmas. It means I move to the guest room today. It means the kids are adults and get to decide how they relate to us without scripts. It means I accept that I was married to someone who loved me enough to make French toast, and not enough to stop writing that sentence to another man. We had babies, I said. We built a life. We've been good for 20 years. We were stable, he said. There's a difference. He went to the bedroom, got his pillow, and came back down the hall carrying the blanket his mother crocheted. He didn't slam a door. He didn't make noise for noise's sake. He moved like a person who had decided to stop breaking his own heart on the hour. I wanted to reach for the old lines. It wasn't like that. I was lonely. It's ancient history. I chose us in the end. I wanted to point at the timeline like an accountant and show him the decades since. Soccer Saturdays, prom photos, his father's hospice bed, my mother's knee surgery, every casserole we carried to every front porch that didn't belong to us. He gave me a shape to move inside instead of wiggle room to wiggle in. Tomorrow, he said, I'll set up a shared folder. I'll put the mortgage statement, the retirement balances, the insurance policies. I'll call HR about a QDRO for my pension. We'll each get an attorney to review the final decree, but I want to do this with a mediator. We've managed every other hard thing like adults. I refuse to make this the one we don't. What about us? I asked, hating how small the word sounded coming out of a 52-year-old mouth. He took a breath. I have loved you longer than I have not, he said. But when you say it was a lifetime ago, what you're telling me now is that the lifetime I thought we had started later than I knew. I've been carrying something you put down in '99 and didn't tell me. I don't want to carry it anymore. Our daughter, Claire, called that afternoon to ask if I could help with her bridal shower invitations. I said yes because I have always said yes to paper and punctuation. Mike texted me and asked me to please not say anything yet. We'll talk to them together, he wrote. They deserve a clean story. Clean story. The words felt like mercy and indictment at the same time. At the mediator's office, the woman, gray bob, firm smile, asked where we wanted to begin. Mike said the house, because he always starts with the hardest logistical piece. We owe $187,000, he said, sliding a printout across the table with physician's penmanship. Zillow says $438,000, but I trust comps more. My realtor thinks we'll list at $429,000. After closing costs and agent fees, we'll clear about $210,000. We split that. We can negotiate credits for bigger appliances, but that's noise. And the retirement accounts? The mediator asked. My 401k is at $386,000, I said. His pension is worth. I looked at him because he knows numbers like recipes. We can have the actuary run a present value, he said. Or we can QDRO half of the monthly benefit and not mess with math we're going to argue over. I'll pay for the actuary if you want present value. Either way, you get half of what accrued while we were married. No fault is no fault. He wasn't punishing me with dollars. He was doing math. We told the kids together the next Sunday, because even grown children deserve to hear bad news sitting down. Claire cried like a faucet someone forgot to turn off. Ben stared at the mantel like it owed him an explanation. Mike said, "Your mother had an affair early in our marriage. I learned about it yesterday. We've decided to divorce." I jumped in too quickly. "It was 20 years ago," I said, as if the age of the wound made the scar less real. Ben looked at me, and I swear he looked exactly like his father when he said, "Mom, that's not a defense. It's a timeline." "We love you more than we love being right," Mike said. "We're not asking you to choose. We're not telling you what to think. We're giving you permission to feel however you feel without managing us." Claire asked where he was going to live. "A rental near school," he said. "Month to month until the house sells. You both have keys here until we close. Thanksgiving will look different, but there will be turkey wherever I am." He smiled then a little, and I wanted to crawl into that half-joke and live there. He changed his direct deposit to a new account. He emailed me and copied the mediator on every logistical thing. He updated his will and the beneficiary on his life insurance because the attorney said to do it now, not after. He moved his suits to the guest room closet. He left me the good skillet because you actually use it, and took the battered one because I don't mind the hot spots. At church, people noticed he wasn't sitting beside me. I told the pastor we were divorcing. The pastor said words that were neither prescriptions nor gossip, and offered a list of counselors with open books. He did not offer to take a side because that's not his job. I stopped singing mid-hymn and stood there with a book open in my hands like a person reading in a language she forgot. Daniel reached out, because of course the universe finds the worst time to send a message. His email came to an address I barely check. "Heard through mutuals you're moving. If you ever want to grab coffee." I stared at the screen until the white of it hurt my eyes. "Eerily. No. Please don't contact me again." I sent a BCC to Mike, not because he needed it, but because I wanted no more corners. He wrote back one word, "Thanks." He never threw the old emails in my face again. He never copied them to the kids. He never said, "Remember when," like a threat. He just kept doing the next right thing with the patience of a man who has built an entire life out of alarm clocks and lesson plans and showing up. We listed the house. We fixed the loose stair, painted over our son's height marks in the pantry after photographing them like mourners, and replaced the faucet Mike always said he'd get to. The first weekend brought 3 offers, all within $5,000 of list. We countered, 1 accepted. We signed. We set a closing date and wrote a short, polite letter to the buyers about trash day, and the neighbor's habit of putting Halloween decorations up too early. The day we closed, our realtor gave us a little plant in a terracotta pot and said, "New beginnings." I wanted to smash it against the title company's fountain. Instead, I put it in the back seat and buckled it in like a joke and cried all the way to my apartment with beige carpet and an AC unit that clicks. I kept expecting him to collapse into me one night, to text at midnight with a confession of missing my laugh, to show up with a case of the cheap beer we drank when we were poor and say, let's not nuke a perfectly good second half. Instead, he kept being kind from a distance that didn't budge. He sent Ben a text the first day of his internship. Proud of you. He mailed Claire a check for the florist deposit with a note. Asked them about local dahlias, save money. He told our mutual friends they didn't owe him loyalty, just honesty. When his sister tried to turn me into a villain in a Facebook comment section, he called her and told her to take it down. Why are you acting like I never loved you? I asked one night when we exchanged boxes in the driveway, and I couldn't hold the question back anymore. He looked at the sky like he was trying to remember a bird name. Love is a verb, he said. I believe you felt a lot about us. I believe you did a lot for us. I also believe you made a 4-year series of choices you didn't tell me about, and then I built 20 years on top of a foundation that had a crack I couldn't see. I'm not erasing what we were. I'm refusing to pretend I'm still standing in the house the way I thought it was built. It was so long ago, I said, tired even of my own line. He nodded. That's the part that hurts the most, he said. You had all this time to tell me. You let me love a version of us I didn't understand. I don't hate you. I just can't do it anymore. He won. If there's a scoreboard in this kind of ruin. Not money. Equitable division is boring by design. Not the kids. They split their tenderness like rent. He won something I used to think was a poster on a therapist's wall. Peace. He changed his life without burning mine down to warm his hands. He followed the law, not the internet. He stopped performing marriage because he refused to be the only one acting. I moved into a place where I know exactly where the squeaks are in the floor, and no one else's keys live in the bowl by the door. I started telling the truth all the way back, out loud, to a counselor who doesn't flinch when I say embarrassing things. I stopped using the phrase, it was a lifetime ago, like a disinfectant, and started using dates, because dates make you look at who you were when you did the thing and who had to carry it. On Saturdays, I still text him soccer scores even though no one is small enough to fit in shin guards anymore. Sometimes he answers with a thumbs up. Sometimes he doesn't. On the day the decree came through, the clerk's email subject line was final judgment of dissolution, like we were on a game show and the host had decided. I printed it and put it in a folder marked legal because a life is also a filing cabinet. At Claire's wedding, he danced with her under string lights, and then sat down next to a woman I'd never seen before with gray in her hair and sensible shoes. They laughed about something the DJ said. He caught my eye, lifted his glass once, then turned back to the conversation. He didn't owe me a scene and wouldn't give me one. When people ask why we divorced after 27 years, I say, we couldn't carry the past the same way. If they press, I say less. If they're mean, I leave. If they're kind, I tell them the truth, that I learned what it looks like when a good man chooses dignity over drama and a plan over a performance, and that sometimes the person who wins is the one who reads the emails, changes the will, books the mediator, and refuses to pretend the house is still level because the pictures on the wall are straight. I can't fix the crack I hid. I can live in a place that's honest about where it runs. That's my half of the piece. He took his quietly, like a man who knows where his tools are.